This is file 231011SD, People versus Ryan Sharp. Mr. Sharp was charged originally with high blood alcohol level. The matter was reduced to a charge of impaired driving, and it was referred for screening, which was done by Daniel Friesine, and sentence, which we're about to do here. So I'll start with you again, Luke. What would you like me to know?
Just a couple things, Judge. We went over the report. Mr. Sharp, and I think this is important, he does not regularly use alcohol, and I think that led to some of his conduct there as reported. Now, we talked about the recommendation for the probation and then also the jail time. He does not want to be on a term of probation, which a criminal defendant has that option. He's going to be asking the court for jail time for 5 days that can be served on weekends. He has a very good job, be working Thursday and Friday. And then if that jail time can be served on weekends. One point I think is important here is that is suggested that he ran out of gas and then that he then called his wife, who's in the gallery today, showed up just minutes after the police arrived, and she was unable. He drives a diesel truck that has a toggle switch for the gas pump. When she tried to operate the truck, that toggle switch was not on, so it didn't start. So the conclusion was that it was out of gas. He had been arrested and been able to communicate how to do that. She didn't know how to do that. The truck in some ways was needlessly towed, an expense that Mr. Sharp incurred. So the suggestion that it was out of gas, I think there may have been more of an explanation for that. So we'd be asking the court for 5 days jail to be served on weekends. He tells me he gets out of work at 6 o'clock. If he can report at 7 o'clock and do his jail time on weekends, Judge.
All right, thank you. Deborah, your response?
That's an interesting reason. I mean, we have police officers there, we have a tow truck company there, and nobody could figure out how to toggle on.
Well, all right, irrespective of whether it ran out of gas.
Went from White Pigeon to Three Rivers to get to White Pigeon.
Yes, but
it's actually a very common thing. It's called a fast pump on a diesel truck.
You want a medal for somehow pulling over. While responding to a 911 hang-up call, I passed a black Dodge Ram pickup at the intersection of 4th Street and South Main Street with no lights on and seemingly parked within both lanes of traffic, presenting a traffic hazard. Upon conclusion of the call for service, I went to 4th Street to see if the vehicle was still presenting a traffic hazard. The vehicle was in the exact same position as several minutes before. So you pulled over in the middle of the road at the Y intersection where 4th Street goes off of South Main Street. So whether the truck was out of gas or not, this was not an ideal place to stop. Now it was 4 o'clock in the morning, so there's not much traffic, but that's a very busy intersection. Everybody that works at Dock Foundry comes in and out of there, and or Metal Technologies, and there's other stuff in there. Anyway, through the whole thing, you've been frustrated because people didn't give you credit for doing the right thing. Well, they gave you an impaired driving, reduced from high blood alcohol level, and you're all indignant. But your blood alcohol was 0.19. You call your wife up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Hey, come get me. She's the one that deserves a medal. So I don't know whether it ran out of gas or not, but you pulled over in the middle of the road. And you were frustrated at the plea. You were frustrated with Daniel. that carries very little weight with me. If you'd pulled into a parking lot or even off to the side of the road, you stopped in the middle of the street with your lights off at 4 o'clock in the morning because you were more than 2.5 times above the legal limit. So go ahead, Deborah.
Well, and then to add to that, you know, his behavior toward the officer and the comments that he made about the officer's wife and what he would do to her is so highly inappropriate. And you can't just blame it on alcohol. I say things that I didn't mean or whatever. But to then come in and not apologize for any of that and just seem like, well, I don't want to do a probation. Probation is too hard. Why? Because you aren't allowed to drink, you aren't allowed to use drugs, you have to report once a month, not commit any new crimes. I mean, probation is an option for people as opposed to jail. And so I guess if he thinks that he'd rather just do jail, then I look at it as this is a high blood alcohol with inappropriate behavior toward law enforcement and no remorse. So I would ask that the court impose more jail than what he's willing to do if he doesn't want to do a probation. Thank you.
Daniel, anything to add?
Well, yes, when I spoke to him, and he was very indignant. I think that everybody that's on a drunk driving can benefit from probation, so I always am a strong proponent of probation. I think this is a person who drinks, wants to drink, doesn't think they have a problem. That's why they don't want to do probation. He was even upset because he had to do 2-3 hours, and he kind of said it like,
Yeah,
I had to do 2-3 hours in jail because the computers weren't working. I said, most people spend a lot more than 2-3 hours in jail. And to get a 194 and even be walking, most of us here couldn't get to half that without falling asleep or passing out. So the fact that he was doing the good thing by pulling out in the middle of the road driving at 4 a.m., it kind of ticked me out. But I really thought, well, maybe if we can get him in probation, he can get more of a reality check. And I still recommended 1 day in jail, but I think the guideline score on this is very light in lieu of everything. And I think he'd deserve a lot more than the 5 to 7 days. I wouldn't be so inclined to have him do it on weekends with his attitude, because I think it was appalling what he attacked someone's wife, a patrol officer's wife.
yeah, that's about at the bottom of the list. I don't want to make him lose his job, but he was a jerk. I was trying to think of a right word, but he was drunk, but it wasn't good. So, Mr. Sharp, what do you want to tell me? Anything else you think I should know?
I mean, like, they're talking about the hours and stuff. I work second shift, so like 4 o'clock, I'm not even out of work sometimes till 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. So 4 o'clock to me is not 4 o'clock to what normal people. First off. Second off, the stuff about his wife and everything, I mean, I was under the influence, obviously, first off. Second off, I don't think that personal, but I didn't threaten anybody. I didn't threaten physical harm to anybody. I feel like it's a personal vendetta, and they're bringing that to a courtroom. I don't feel like that's relevant to anything. Also, the reason that I would like to just do jail time is because I am moving back to Indiana, Elkhart, Indiana. I would like to just be done and get it done the quickest way possible, because I don't know what's all going to be involved with me living in a totally different state. So it has nothing to do with like wanting to drink and this and that all the time. It's I'm moving away from this state. I mean, I don't
Maybe
know.
that's for the best. Is there anything else you wanted me to know?
I mean,
All right, well, you're not the least bit repentant. And I never heard you say, I'm sorry. I'm not going to repeat what you said about his wife and what you were going to do to her. But yeah, it's relevant. It's relevant to me. He's a police officer doing his duty. He sees a car parked in the middle of the intersection at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's 4 o'clock to me and it's 4 o'clock to anybody else who would be
I
driving around. I don't
understand
even-
that, but like also.
Stop, you're gonna talk yourself into 90 days in jail and no work release and no weekends. You don't have a clue. You are not sorry about this. You're indignant that somehow you don't get credit for doing the right thing. You didn't do the right thing. You pulled over in the middle of the intersection in a very busy intersection. Fortunately, nobody was there. You said horrible things to the police officer. You uncooperative with the hospital staff. You got a 1.9 blood alcohol. You don't want to do a probation. And I never once heard I'm sorry, because you're not sorry. So you don't present a very compelling case.
I have said I was sorry.
Yeah, I didn't hear it. I sure didn't hear it this morning.
I was never asked to say it in here, but when we were talking about doing the plea and everything, I apologized to him when he was wherever he was going after he would come into the conference.
Now, they had to, you probably got your license suspended because they had to do the search warrant, so impaired won't give you a restricted license. You're gonna have a way to get back and forth to work. Well, I guess that'll be an issue you can deal with. But I think your license is already suspended for refusal of the test. I'm going to order 11 days, credit 1, leaving 10 days to serve, which can be served on weekends. $100 fine, $75 crime victims' rights fee, a $50 state minimum fee, a $100 screening fee, $150 attorney fee. There is no probation oversight fee. Deborah, what's the
There was no accidents. It was
$200 blood draw, police reimbursement, TRPD? I'm not gonna do the victim impact panel. You won't get anything out of it, and it'll be a negative influence on the other people in there. 300 plus 75 plus 50 plus 100 plus 150 plus 200. I'm still not even clear what you were doing right there at that time, but let me add that up again. 300 plus 75 plus 50 plus 100 plus 150 attorney fee plus $200 police reimbursement is $875. That's much cheaper than it would normally be if there was a probation or other treatment, but I'm not ordering any of it. I'll give you 90 days to pay that. This is August. November 10th.
Your Honor, would you consider non-reporting probation until he completes his jail time with a no drinking clause?
Yes.
Thank you.
Not rarely, more common than I like. We have people show up to do their weekends drunk. They figure they'll get a good buzz on and sleep through most of it. You're not to use any alcohol until you've completed this jail sentence. That also means if you don't show up, you're subject to a probation violation where I could order up to 93 days in jail. But I don't want you to lose your job or your family. They didn't tow your vehicle to brokers or someplace at your wife's request. Shears actually towed it to your house, which certainly was an expense, but it could have been a lot worse once you got impound fees and all that kind of stuff. But the only person whose fault this is you. So you go downstairs and they'll start to figure out when you're going to do those weekends.
Do we want to just put a time and have him start him from here? Like if he's off at 2 a.m. every,
Yeah, what time do you want to start?
Well, my schedule, like I said, I work second shift Monday through Thursday, and then Fridays I work 10 to 6, but it's hard
All
to
right, so it's, where do you work?
PRM trucking and White Pigeon.
All right, how about 7:30 PM on Friday?
At work.
Friday is August 11. I'll give you something to take to the jail. All right, Mr. Sharp, I'm not gonna make you do a probation if you don't wanna do it, but you got 5 weekends to do. All right.